Hello everybody, and welcome back to this next episode of Kerbal Space Program. It's been quite a bit since I played this one. It's been kind of a busy holiday season, but I'm back now. I just want to say happy holidays in general and Happy New Year. So let's just get back into the mission here. Here we are in the Tylo Command Module Mark II, heading out for a rendezvous with the actual moon Tylo. Let's take a look at the encounter we're going to get. Relatively equatorial orbit, which is basically what you always kind of want, and it's going to be about 184,000 meters away from the surface, which is not bad. So that's the kind of encounter we're looking for. I guess the only thing left to do is kind of fly in there. Now I'm just kind of concerned about fuel. The active stage we have right here only has another, it looks like 1100 meters per second. Now I'm hoping that that's enough fuel to at least get us into a stable orbit around Tylo, because if not, we're gonna have to borrow some fuel from the lander, and I really would rather not do that. I'd rather kind of try to keep this fuel. In fact, we actually need to refuel the lander. As you can see, we ended up using some of the fuel on launch many episodes ago, and many Kerbal years ago. It's been 3 years and 26 days already. These guys are just itching to get out into the surface. Now the reason we are going to Tylo first is because once we get there, and hoping that everything goes well, we can shed this weight and get rid of all this excess weight. This way, when we jet over to Vol, this craft will be way lighter, and it'll definitely spend less fuel to get to Vol. It's going to be a little more daring landing on Vol because, as you can see, we won't have any of the landing appendages. I just kind of want the center tube, but I think I have enough faith in my skills that I can land this thing straight up and down. That's just me maybe being a little too cocky, but who knows? But that's the plan anyways. I might be insane, but we'll see. We'll find out, won't we? But for now, we might as well get this thing warping on in here, and we'll just kind of see what happens as we get this Tylo encounter. Hopefully everything goes according to plan. There's Tylo, you can see her getting closer and closer. We did end up getting a little lucky last episode. We got some kind of, like a free encounter almost. I was going to have to make like a 200 meter per second burn, but it just like popped into view, and I'm not really sure why or how. But it did, and I'm pretty happy about that. Yes, indeed. I'm not really going to change anything just because, I mean, everything looks like it's straight on target, which is nice. We're approaching the encounter mark. And there it is, 177, and we are going around the proper way here. Everything looks good. So we have basically 4 hours to make a burn before we escape, and I'm hoping we can make that. Let's see. Oh, this isn't gonna. It's not really gonna take that long. Well, then we got to do all this, so it might take a little longer than we want, but it's gonna basically get us into that stable orbit that we want, which is all you could really ask for. That's all you could really ask for. Circular orbit. It's gonna cost. It's gonna be a bit costly, and yeah, I'm gonna go on record right now and say this craft was poorly designed by yours truly. It's not going to have enough fuel to get to both moons and get back home again. We're going to have to do a refueling mission. Probably around Tylo. We'll make a base, and we'll send a refueler out there in one of the next episodes. But rest assured, it won't be a really lengthy and long mission of refueler missions. I'll just kind of get her done, show the highlights of it, and then continue on with the mission, because you guys are probably sick of watching all these extraneous activities, or maybe not, who knows, maybe if you want to see the whole entire refueling mission. But that's the plan so far. Let's just get this thing pointed at the node. I am kind of curious though to see how long it's going to ask me to fire the engine, so let's just do a test fire. Okay, so it's going to be about a 22-minute burn, so we're going to wait until we're a little bit further up there before we actually start making that burn. Ideally, you'd like to be about maybe 12 minutes away. Something like that. In fact, let's just start her now. basically pointing right at that node. It's actually right now raising our periapsis, just because we're burning on the other side of it. But we are slowing down. I might just point her more towards that reticle right there, though, just because that would basically help us slow down a little faster. That will reduce our periapsis a little bit, but that's okay. As long as we're slowing down, I feel good about it. Now, another YouTuber, friend of mine, who friended me, or is following me on YouTube, said that he couldn't do a physical time warp while the engines were burning, which is very strange to me because I'm always able to do it, in fact. So the engines are cooking, what I'm literally doing is holding Alt and just using the time warp, and it's able to do it. I'm not really sure why yours isn't allowing you to do it. If anyone knows a solution to that, please feel free to post it, because I can't imagine having to actually sit here for 20 minutes and wait. That would be excruciating. Just wouldn't want to do it. I'd probably just walk away from the computer, and then I'd come back to the computer and some horrible atrocity would have happened. The Kraken would have struck while my back was turned. So I feel for you, my friend, but hopefully someone could post an answer to that question, because it works for me and I'm not really sure why it's not working for you. It should work. Maybe there's a setting somewhere. If you go into options somewhere, you can maybe mess around and see if there's some kind of something that's disabling your time warp while engines are igniting. But anyways, this is going to take, even with 3 times warp, it's still going to take a while, so let's do a little cut until we are a little bit closer. Alright, this is us basically in our stable orbit around Tylo. Only a couple more things to do. We just got to make sure it's pretty circular, which we can do in the next pass. We just kind of ran out of time on this one. And another thing we can do is just make sure that it is a little more equatorial. So we'll just kind of pull it like that. Pull it up a little bit. Make sure that it is circle. Boom, and that'll be us. So we'll basically just swing around for another pass, and we do have that contract parameter. We have achieved stable orbit around Tylo. Very nice. We made it, guys. We made it to our destination, and man, it looks pretty. This big, giant, heavy moon. That's exactly what it is. It's a heavy place. Basically, almost as heavy as planet Kerbal, but like I said in another episode, but no atmosphere, no luxury of an atmosphere to help us with parachutes. We cannot use parachutes here to help us land. It's going to have to be all powered descent, which is why we brought such a huge, gigantic lander, because and with a mainsail engine at that, that's going to help us basically get down there in one piece. So it's going to be another about 6.5 minutes to go. So I'm going to light these engines at appropriately about maybe 3-minute mark. Let's do right about there. Just to finish it off. Now, as I'm noticing here, we are not quite done with the burn yet. We've got about 180 left to make this thing a circle, but we only have about 72 and falling left in our tanks. So this is a problem. I wanted to give fuel actually from this stage back to this stage, but it looks like that's just not going to happen at this stage. How many times can I say stage? It's not going to happen at this point because we're actually going to have to actually lend fuel from here back into here again. So what I'm going to definitely say is we're not ready to even think about landing on Tylo yet. We need to start thinking about a refueling ship to get out here to basically get this thing fueled up. Because right now it's just not going to be possible. We're going to barely get this orbit settled, and we're going to have to borrow some more fuel to get that thing the rest of the way circularized. And I guess we'll spend the rest of the episode kind of designing a refueling ship. It'll be a little smarter than this ship was. This was kind of a failed design. I didn't really test it before I launched it, and that's part of the way I kind of like to do things here. Is not everything I do is fully tested. I feel like it makes it more organic, more realistic. Maybe if you're kind of new to the game, you kind of have the same kind of feeling. that's just kind of the way I like to play Kerbal. I kind of like to do it 60% winging it, 40% planning it. I'm sure a lot of people like to do it a little differently, but anyways, we're about at the end of our fuel now, so we're going to cut the engines here as soon as they run out. There they go. And so we still have about 108 left. What I'm going to do is I'm going to borrow from here just to finish this circularization. And from the other side, just so it's even. So we bought ourselves another 600 meters per second. Let's just fire it up. Since we did it evenly, this thing should be balanced, which it looks like it is. So yeah, we'll finish this off camera, and then we're gonna go back to the VAB and start designing a refueler design to send out here. That'll be the plan. Okay, here we are in the VAB. It's time to design our refueler craft, which is going to be quite a feat because it's going to have a lot of fuel, and it's going to have to get there, and proper planning will have to be used here. So we're going to start with this big giant guidance unit because we need the large Clampetron senior size. That's what we're going to use to dock with this thing. And we'll make sure that I call these the bicycle spokes are pointing outwards. That's the side we want to actually dock with when we come around. It's going to connect to something like this, basically. Anyways. Next, we should have SAS. Slap that on there. Very good, very good. And now it's going to require at least probably two of these fuel tanks worth. Now this has what, about liquid fuel 2800 in it. Let's see, one of these has 64, so that's twice as much. I'm thinking I might have to like ship one of these guys up there. Let's see, I wonder if we just kind of like, that would probably be all it takes, really. One of these. Let's see, 28 times 2, yeah, it's 4, 6 plus with the lander. That's basically, we probably only need this. That would basically satisfy our needs. However, that is very, very heavy, I'd imagine. It's going to require definitely some heavy lifting, but nothing that we can't handle, I don't think. Let's see, we do want to slap on there our engineering and flight system, just so we can see the stats. We do need, okay, so engines, definitely going to have a couple nuclear engines powering this thing. Because, come on, it's freaking huge. Let's see. Just for good measure, we'll throw a couple of these things on here. And let's see, 2 nuclear engines. And let's get the fuel lines properly fitted. I'm going to be going from the inner tank out, I believe. Wow. A whopping 13,000 meters per second delta V. Unfortunately, the thrust weight ratio is severely underpowered. So what I might do is just use another couple of these things. In fact, let's just make sure that they're symmetrical. We'll just hit the X key a couple times. Well, it's not as efficient, but it's a little more powered. I think we'll go with that. And make sure that we do strap these things in here. Okay. Now that should be pretty good for the refueler. Let's just go ahead and strap on a couple of photovoltaics. It does need power, doesn't it? Let's see. Let's do something like that. That'll work, and it does need a few batteries. Gonna just do something like that. Monopropellant, we will need it. And let's just see where our center of mass is basically kind of like that. It's a little bottom heavy. It's being a little bit of a pain in the butt here. I don't know why it's flipped like that. That's kind of annoying. Hopefully that'll count. Looks like it probably will. Yeah, that'll be fine. Guess I should probably talk out loud. Basically, I'm just trying to get these things equidistant from the center of mass. That'll do fine, though. Alright. Let's see, we got the SAS, we got this thing. Does it need anything else? It's docking capable. Call this thing the Tylo refueler. Mark 1. Hopefully Mark 1 will work just fine. Hopefully we don't need to make any other mark. Toggle panels. It is a crewless flight. Got the drone thing right there. Okay. Now the question is, we got to get this thing into orbit, so we're gonna use one of these big giant separators. We're just gonna go big with this one, because this is a gigantic heavy thing. We're gonna need lots of power to get this thing off the ground. Definitely don't want to mess around. I'm going ham with this one, guys. Might go with 6 asparagus. There we go. Ooh, we are kind of... Let's see. Might have to use one of these. It's gonna be a tight fit. But that's okay, it'll make it. Fuel lines. I'm going to be feeding fuel in. And we also want to strut. Strut her up. If you've watched my other videos, you know that it's always good to put struts on. You can never have too many of them. That's what I always say. Strut lots. Strut early. Strut often. Strut as much as you can. Let's also... We're going to want some boosters on the side. Want these big, giant, fat ones. Those are nice. Go ahead and strut those also. If you ever think you're doing too many struts, probably means you're not doing enough. It's a general rule of thumb with KSP. Ask anyone. And just for fun, pop a couple nose cones on, even though they're pretty much useless. It's just fun to pretend. Plus it looks nice. And we'll just pop a couple of these things on the side. Can't forget Sepratron engines. Because when these things when they decouple, they're going to be very heavy. Want something to kind of push it out of the way. So that's what these are perfect for. These little jobbies here. Now staging is going to be a nightmare with this, so let's just go ahead and start right from the beginning. We need all 3 to fire right off the bat with the solid fuel boosters, with the clamps. Alright, next is going to be this. Pull that down. Now these are the Sepratrons. They need to go with these ones, so we'll pull those into here like that. Alright, Now we just gotta basically alt-click and copy these a few times. So I'm gonna go with the 6-banger here. I kinda want it to be overkill. It's gonna be a little pricey, but we do have 2 million Kerbal credits. I'm not even sure if that's the real name for the money. I just like to call it Kerbal credits because it sounds cool. Kind of just slides right off the tongue. Kerbal credit. And we're gonna go ahead and put this fuel line from here into this tank here in the typical asparagus way. It's a little uneven at the top, but I think it'll be alright. Let's just make sure that that does come first with the 2 separatrons that has. There we go. And finally we'll copy it one more time. Make sure we're lined up. And then this fuel, yes, we'll go into that one. Very good. And we'll also just make sure that it is staged properly so that this fires first with its set of separatrons. So, whew, this is huge. It's going to cost a whopping 686,000 Kerbal credits. To review, everything's going to fire at once. I mean everything, including all these are going to detach or whatnot. First thing that's going to happen after that is the solid fuels are going to disengage after they burn out. Next, the first set of tanks, which would be these, yes, they will decouple these two over here, which then leaves the next set, which should be this one's. Yes, that they will go. And then finally these ones will go, leaving the center stack fully fueled up, ready to go. And then that will hopefully get us basically to Tylo, or at least Jool. I'm kind of hoping to save a lot of this fuel so that we can basically not have to use any of this. I just want to have this as like last resort maneuvering and whatnot. Get our rendezvous, refuel our craft, get that thing down to the surface, and resume our mission basically. So that's that, guys. Let's see. What I'll basically do is probably in like maybe off camera, or maybe I'll do like selections of the launch. I will launch this thing, and in the next episode we'll see those little selections from the launch, and next episode will be the rendezvous between this ship and the main Tylo craft. And that'll be it. That's going to be our refueling, and we'll get right back to the main mission at hand. This is just a little detour, but we've had little detours before, and hopefully this mission will be right underway again. So thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you in the next mission.